Doug Karsch, Scott Anderson. I will say something today, and look, I understand programming decisions are made. The chyron on First Take this morning, is Sam Darnold's story the greatest redemption story in the history of the NFL? Like, yep, let's have that debate.
God. You want to get people fired up a little bit?
Do I?
As this under the category of rumors, apparently Jason La Canfora has said that Maxx Crosby told Tom Brady he will never play for the Raiders again. That's what an unnamed GM told Jason La Canfora. The quote is, he told Tom Brady he'll never play for the Raiders again. That's a fact. He told him he'll retire before he ever plays for them again, but I'm not sure they're actually going to trade him. Myles Garrett said the same thing last year, and we know how that ended up.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We talked about this last Thursday. Could it be done? Yes. What would have to be done to free up the cap space and make this trade is so much heavy lifting that you have to question whether it was worth it. They might not be a better football team. They will have collected 2 great edge rushers, but they'll have to get rid of so many guys to create cap space and give up resources.
What do you have to give up to trade them?
Yeah, it is a you have to do so much that it's, in our opinion, not really feasible.
No, it probably isn't, and that deal would include, like you said, multiple first, second-round picks, and probably like Aleem McNeil in return just to make the contracts match up. And Aleem McNeil can still be a good player in this league. But it sounds like, though, even though if he's not realistic for the Lions, Maxx Crosby might be done with the Raiders, though. Because Glazer, who's always right, it seems like, said this last week, like, he's not coming back. Like, this is going to happen. Like, he's going to be somewhere else. Is that going to be in division? Is that going to be in the NFC? I don't know, man, but if Maxx Crosby is available, that's why people, their ears start to perk up.
And they should perk up. I'm just not sure. I think the biggest relevance it has with us here is, does he end up on an NFC contender, which would suck. But anyway, 248-539-9797. Before we get back to your phone calls, I mentioned a very telling stat. We were talking about how good the secondary was for Seattle, how Drake May dropped back, and you can tell when a play is not working, even if you don't have the all-22. When the job's getting done downfield, quarterback 7-step drop, 5-step drop, hits that back foot, ball's out. That's when a play is being executed as designed. That happened so infrequently with Drake May. There was a ton of checkdowns. There was a whole bunch of instances where he just had nobody to throw to and took a sack.
Or he had no time because here comes Witherspoon or Eminari and just coming right through.
His yards and numbers in the end weren't terrible, but at the half he had 48 yards passing, and the Patriots had lost 30 yards in sacks. So 48 positive yards on dropbacks, lost 30 yards in sacks. Through 3 quarters, he was 8 of 18 for 60 yards and sacked 5 times for 39 yards in losses. Now, that's 23 dropbacks. You got to include the 2 scrambles that had positive yards. So through 3 quarters, Drake May had dropped back 25 times to pass. Those pass plays had a net of 37 yards. 25 pass plays called. When you mix in sacks and scrambles, they were averaging 1.48 yards per pass play through 3 quarters. That's why they lost this football game. And credit Seattle's defense. I have been very dismissive today of the New England Patriots, who it's steeped in frustration that I feel like the Lions can't catch a break as an organization, even when they have competent people running it. But this also, I think, speaks a little bit to who New England was. 248-539-9797.
The Patriots had 130 yards in offense in their last 2 drives, which were garbage time drives. Mm-hmm. So that's 130. I think they're all passing, well, mostly passing yards. There's some runs in there for Drake May when he scrambled, but that's 130 yards. I mean, they just had nothing going offensively. They had the one drive where they scored in like 3 plays. Like, hey, here we go. One good pass, and here's another one in the corner of the end zone. They caught it. What just happened? They're in the game. And then they come right back, and he throws the terrible interception. This receiver did him no help at all by keep running the route. And like, the ball is a duck up there. Why are you still going towards the sideline? Get back and try to break it up. But he didn't do that. It was an interception, and the game was done.
All right, let's get back to your open line calls. We go to Bernard in Detroit. You're on 97.1. Hi, Bernard.
What's going on, guys?
How we doing?
Now, what I'm about to say is all business. There's no emotion involved in all of this.
Let's go.
I just feel like the Lions have the pieces they need to trade to get more draft picks or players. You know, I know people in love with St. Brown. I understand all of that. But I think Tesla can step in for him and run more of a Puka kind of routes, and they could trade him for draft picks. I believe that they could trade Gibbs for draft picks because you could find running backs in the draft that can do what he could do. I mean, the guy only had like 3 good games all year, and people act like he ran for 1,800 yards, and he didn't. I believe they have the answers on this team to solve a lot of their draft issues and position issues, and and look more for 27 and 26. It's probably going to take 2 years to rebuild this team to get it to where they want it to be. I mean, because I've been watching that thing to build another 49ers.
Real quick here. Here.
What?
You're saying that what the Lions should do is trade Amon-Ra and Gibbs, or trade Amon-Ra or Gibbs? Am I hearing this correct? And
both.
Okay.
Both. Just
so
like
Amon-Ra, keep in mind with Amon-Ra, if you move him, there's $44 million of dead cap space that you have to account for. His cap hit would be $44 million, which would take them from already over the cap to way over the cap.
So there's nothing that they could do. They basically just have to keep him, right?
Yes, which I think is just fine with most people. You could move
Gibbs. You have to
Gibbs.
restructure his contract. Is what they're likely going to have to do.
Well, see what? Because I've been following that series, the making of the 49ers, and it seems like they're all business with their decisions. They don't make any emotional decisions. They made all business decisions.
Well, Bernard,
they push.
Keeping Amon-Ra and not taking a $44 million dead cap hit isn't necessarily emotional. I think it's also probably a solid business decision.
Well, I mean, I believe they already have a player on the roster who can take his place.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
But I don't think you understand the cap hit part.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that will work out, but then that goes right back to Holmes. I think he made a lot of emotional decisions that kind of hamstrung the team from getting better. I think we're kind of stuck where we are for a couple of years. Don't you think so?
Well, if you want to argue that they gave too many contracts out to their own players, I mean, you can make that argument, but I guess I think they signed the guys that were really good players, and they've got them locked down, and they're not at prices that are market setting anymore. You know, you look at the deal that St. Brown has; it's better than what wide receivers are getting now. You look at the deal that Kirby Joseph is one that hurts because he got hurt right after his deal, but his deal isn't that punitive to the team, but it may set the market for other safeties that hit free agency. And Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't cost you much at all right now because they haven't extended him. If you're going to tell me that the Lions have a decision to make, are they going to extend Gibbs or not? I'm going to say, yeah, they've got a real decision to make there, but they can put that off another year. And then in the end, running backs really don't destroy your cap because they're not getting paid as much as other offensive players are.
If they decided they need to get super bold, I think the only one of the two moves he suggested would be to move Gibbs. I'm not in favor of it, but it comes with less punitive cap space in terms of the cap hit. I don't think the Lions are hanging on to Amon-Ra or Gibbs for emotional reasons.
No, I don't.
I think they're football reasons. Now,
38 touchdowns in 2 years for Jahmyr Gibbs and nearly 4,000 yards in offense in 2 years. That's why you hang on to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes.
That's a business decision.
Do they have a business decision to make on whether or not to extend him? Perhaps. But I think they're trying to win next year's Super Bowl, and given what he is getting paid, do you have his numbers in front of you?
I don't have his contract. I have his statistics in front of me. He's in
his
year
cap
3, so he's a first-round pick, so you have him for 5 years. So you've got 2 years before you have to worry about it, really.
Remember that Goff wasn't the only one that didn't benefit from the offensive line being as good. Gibbs was another one. But for a $5.6 million cap hit, I think it is a solid business decision to have Jahmyr Gibbs on this team next year.
Like I said, 38 touchdowns and 4,000 yards on offense in 2 years.
No.
And he doesn't cost you a ton. That's not the guy you move. And you don't have to worry about moving. I wouldn't move many because he's under the contract. St. Brown is another story, and you can't move him now because it's too much of a hit. And it would also disrupt the entire offense.
248-539-9797. Let's go to Mike in Sterling Heights. You're next. Hello, Mike.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
How we doing?
Listen, fellas, I got a issue, not with you all, but just in my town. I mean, I grew up, my formative years was in the 70s. I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I watched their defense track down Fran Tarkenton, destroyed that team. I just watched great defenses. I watched the Giants do what they did to New England. I love it when the defense go after you. And, you know, we talk about our lines, and we initially talked about biting kneecaps. Tell me one guy on this defense who bites kneecaps.
Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell.
You cannot, fellas.
Aiden Hutchinson and Jack Campbell.
He just gave you two. Brian Branch
will destroy you.
No. I'm talking about on the defensive line, fellas. I'm talking about
you said
going after
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson is not a knee biter. Let's be real. He is a finesse defensive lineman. I'm just talking real defense. I'm talking about guys who are dogs.
Mike, I got to tell you, citing the way football was played in the 70s, where the leading passers had like 2,500 yards passing and threw very few touchdowns, interceptions, and the most valuable players were like running backs, the game has changed dramatically.
I know that, but let's talk about Seattle. Seattle yesterday.
Seattle yesterday, they won because of their defense. I think, and in my opinion, New England's incompetence.
Okay, what did Philly win with last year?
Philly's a better example. Hey, Mike, Philly's a better example.
Well, they also had the MVP in the league in Saquon Barkley, right?
Yeah.
Only thing I'm saying, fellas, is that our general manager and our vice president of operations or whoever have to put more emphasis on defense.
All right, so that's
Get
fine. Mike,
a third-round draft choice.
There's nothing wrong with you having that opinion that you want to concentrate on defense more than offense. You can make an argument both ways. Either offense gets it done or defense gets it done. And clearly last night, defense was the word of the day because it was on full display. Both teams played really well defensively. Seattle was better.
Seattle also had a
defensive
top 10
touchdown.
offense.
They had 6 sacks in the game. They were outstanding. And there's no question about it. But it's not the only way to build the winner, though.
Let me ask you guys a question then. If you already have two wide receivers that you're paying top dollars, I'm talking about 18 and 30-some million, and your defense is not where it needs to be, why would you give up third-round draft picks and draft a third receiver in the third round?
Those things actually might be mistakes. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. Look, over the last, I've documented, talked about it on the air. The last 2 years have been a little different. I think last year's Philadelphia as a data point, that's a team that's defense really carried them. Seattle had a top 10 offense this year. I think New England, unfortunately, was kind of breaks the scale a little bit because I don't think that was a particularly impressive team. They beat the schedule that was in front of them, but I don't want to overreact to what we just saw. But the defense definitely ruled that day.
Yeah, I mean, Doug, what you're trying to say is also, because I know it seems like you're just slandering New England. I know. I actually feel a lot of the same of what you feel. But was that the best team in the AFC? I don't think so. No. You know, I mean, the best team probably was, from the playoff brackets, is a healthy Bo Nix with the Broncos.